You log into your 401k app. Maybe it's a Wednesday. Maybe you're just bored at work. You look at the balance, and for a split second, you think the app is glitching. You refresh the page, you refresh it again. You close the browser, open it back up, and that number is still smaller, way smaller. You feel that cold wash of panic start in your chest. You start doing the math in your head. That was the new roof. That was the car down payment. That was 3 years of contributions. Poof, gone. If you've ever had that feeling, or if you're terrified you're about to have it when the next crash hits, you're in the right place. My name is Thomas, and I'm here to tell you the worst thing you can do is sell. Here's why a crash is actually a massive opportunity. If you're someone who worries that a market crash means you're going to wake up broke and have to work until you're 80, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. The news is screaming about inflation, recession, or maybe the next big crash. And if you're human, your brain is screaming, sell everything, save what's left. But here's the thing, your gut instinct during a crash, it's usually a liar. And if you follow it, you might permanently damage the single most powerful wealth-building tool you own. Let's set the scene. Say you're 40 years old. You've been diligently investing for 15 years. You've got a solid $100,000 saved in your 401k. Feels good, right? You're on track. Then the market tanks. We're talking a real bear market, not a 5% dip, but a 2008-style, 2000-style bloodbath. Let's say the S&P 500 drops 40% over the course of a year. You log in, your $100,000 is now $60,000. Now look at that. That hurts. You lost 40 grand. That's real money. That's your money. And immediately, two voices start screaming in your head. The first voice is the investor. It says, stay calm, buy low, this is a sale. The second voice is the human. It says, oh my God, we're losing everything. We have to stop the bleeding. Here's what most people don't realize. The human voice is usually the one in charge, and that is where the trap door opens. There's a concept in behavioral finance called loss aversion. It was popularized by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. And what they found is that the psychological pain of losing money is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining money. Losing $1,000 hurts about as much as gaining $2,000 feels good. So when you see that $100,000 turn into $60,000, you aren't just losing $40,000 in value, you are experiencing the emotional equivalent of losing $80,000 worth of happiness. Your brain is freaking out. It's screaming at you to make it stop. So what does the average person do? They do the get me out maneuver. They sell everything, they move to cash, they stop the pain. But on the surface, that feels smart. You're protecting what's left. You're being safe. But this is where the math gets really interesting, and frankly, a little sad. Let's go back to our 40-year-old with $60,000 left after the crash. They sell, they go to cash. They feel safe. The market eventually bottoms out, and then it starts to recover. It goes up 10%, then another 10%. A year later, it's up 30% from the bottom. Our friend Thomas, who sold, is still sitting in cash with his $60,000. He's waiting for things to feel stable before he gets back in, but he missed the recovery. Now let's look at the alternative version of you. Let's call her the stoic. The stoic also had $100,000, watched it drop to $60,000. She felt the same panic, but she did nothing. She kept her contributions going. Maybe she even increased them because things were on sale. The market drops another 10%, she buys more. It hurts, but she buys. Now let's fast forward 10 years. The market has recovered, and historically, after a crash, the following decade tends to be pretty good. Let's assume a conservative 8% annual return after that bottom. The seller. He has $60,000. He waits 2 years to get back in, missing the first big surge. He gets back in when the market feels safe again. After 10 years of growth at 8%, his $60,000 grows to about $129,000. The stoic, She kept her $60,000 invested. It drops, then recovers. She also kept contributing. Let's say she just kept putting in the standard $500 a month through the crash and the recovery. After 10 years, her account isn't at $129,000. It's closer to $220,000 or more. See that? The seller didn't just lose $40,000 in the crash. He lost the $90,000 in future growth that he would have gotten by staying put. You don't realize a loss until you sell. Warren Buffett has a line: the first rule of investing is never lose money. But people misinterpret that. He doesn't mean never have a losing year. He means never permanently impair your capital by selling at the bottom. Look, I get it. It's scary. But let me give you an analogy that might reframe this. Imagine you own a small apartment building. You bought it for $1 million. Every month, you collect rent. You're happy. Suddenly, the real estate market crashes. A realtor calls you and says, "Hey, bad news, your building is only worth $600,000 on paper right now, but you're still collecting the exact same rent checks." Would you panic and sell the building for $600,000 just because some guy said it was worth less? No, you'd laugh. You'd say, "I don't care what the paper value is, I own the building, and the building is still making me money." Your 401k is that apartment building. When you own an S&P 500 index fund, you don't just own a ticker symbol. You own a tiny piece of 500 of the biggest, most profitable companies in the world. Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, they're still selling iPhones, still selling software, still selling groceries. They're still making profits. A market crash doesn't change the businesses you own that much. It just changes what the market is willing to pay for them today because everyone's scared. Now you might be thinking, "Thomas, that's easy for you to say, but what if I'm 60 years old? What if I'm retiring next year?" That is the best objection. If you're 25, a crash is a bonus. If you're 65, a crash is a crisis. And that's where we need to talk about something your plan probably already does, called a glide path. Most target date funds automatically adjust your investments to be safer as you get closer to retirement. When you're 25, you're 90% stocks. When you're 60, you might be 50% stocks and 50% bonds. Bonds are the shock absorber. When stocks crash, bonds usually hold their value or even go up. So if you're 60 with a 50-50 portfolio and the stock market drops 40%, your total portfolio doesn't drop 40%. It drops about 20%. That's still painful, but it's manageable. The danger zone is the 5 years before retirement and the 5 years after. If you have too much stock in that window, a crash can literally force you to delay retirement or go back to work. This is called sequence of returns risk. If you're in that window, you shouldn't be gambling, you should be protecting. But if you're 35, 40, or even 50 with a solid 10+ years left, a crash is just a really annoying sale. So, the market is tanking. The news is on fire. Your cousin is texting you, "I told you so." What do you actually do? Here are the 3 steps. Step 1, do not open your app. Seriously, if you know a crash is happening, looking at the balance every day is self-flagellation. It only triggers the loss aversion response. If you have a long time horizon, the daily price doesn't matter. It's just noise. Check it quarterly, not daily. Step 2, check your pay stub. Look at your contributions. Are you still investing? If the market is down 20%, your $500 is buying 20% more shares than it did last year. You are buying the apartment building at a 20% discount. That's a good thing. Step 3, rebalancing, the secret weapon. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's say you want it to be 80% stocks and 20% bonds. After a crash, stocks drop, so now you might be 70% stocks and 30% bonds. Rebalancing means you sell some of those bonds, which are stable, and buy more stocks, which are cheap. This forces you to buy low. It's the mechanical way of removing emotion from the process. I want to tell you about a guy named Bob. Bob is a fictional character created by a financial blogger named Mr. Money Mustache, but he's the best example I've ever seen. Let's call him Bob the Worst Market Timer. Bob started investing in the 1970s. He had $10,000 to invest, but Bob had the worst luck in history. He only invested right before the biggest crashes. He invested $10,000 right before the 1973 oil crisis. The market crashed. He invested another $10,000 right before the 1987 Black Monday crash. He invested another $10,000 right before the dot-com bubble burst in 2000. And he invested another $10,000 right before the 2008 financial crisis. This guy is cursed. If he put money in, the market tanked. If he had just put his cash under his mattress, he'd have $40,000 at the end, plus whatever was left. But Bob didn't sell. He just held on. Through every crash, every recession, he just sat there. By the time he retired, despite being the single worst market timer in the history of the world, that $40,000 he invested had grown to over $2 million. Why? Because time in the market beats timing the market. The only people who got crushed were the people who sold in 1974, sold in 1987, sold in 2000, and sold in 2008. The people who just sat there and did nothing, they won. Look, a market crash feels like the end of the world. It feels like your hard work is being erased. But it's not being erased. It's being temporarily hidden. If you sell now, you are taking a temporary problem and turning it into a permanent loss. You are locking in the damage. Your 401k isn't a savings account. It's a long-term engine. You don't judge a rocket ship by how it looks sitting on the launch pad. You judge it by where it lands. So, when the next crash comes, and it will come, remember this video. Remember the math. Remember Bob. Shut the app, go outside, and let the market do its thing. If you found this helpful, please hit that thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you want to learn how to set up your 401k so you never have to worry about this again, click the video right here. My name's Thomas. Stop panicking, stay invested. I'll see you in the next one.